I'm Tess of Livable Ballard.
And I'm Bill, a community advocate and a former city council candidate.
And behind us is what's left of the Up House. The Up House in Ballard became a story across the world of one person's principled stand against development. It's also a metaphor for upzoning in Ballard and its negative effects: more and bigger construction, increasing housing prices, gentrification, homelessness, and a lower quality of life.
What's happened to Ballard is instructive, because Newton is facing now the kind of powerful upzoning and overdevelopment pressures Ballard confronted a decade ago. Will Newton be transformed as Ballard has been? There's more population and regulatory pressure on Ballard to force more intense housing land use than there is on Newton, but it's political and speculative pressures that really drive growth in both.
In 1990, the state of Washington enacted the Growth Management Act. It required local municipalities to incorporate growth targets as part of regional growth planning. 38 neighborhoods in Seattle, including Ballard, were designated as urban villages, appropriate for much more intense development. During this period, the official neighborhood planning process engaged thousands of citizens to participate in deciding how to meet the growth targets they had been assigned. At first, infill housing units, while crowded, at least matched the scale of existing neighborhoods. In 2010, at the insistence of developers, the zoning codes were changed to allow far more intense development, and buildings no longer match what are in neighborhoods.
As the millennium came to a close, the tech boom in Seattle led to enormous pressure for real estate redevelopment. Elected officials and the developers and tech giants who fund their campaigns pushed for, quote, higher value, unquote, uses of land, or property speculation. Within the past decade, nearly 20 major condo retail projects were underway or had just been completed within a 5-block radius of downtown Ballard, adding some 2,500 new households to the neighborhood. In 2010, Seattle did a virtual upzone by allowing significantly more density in low-rise zones, ostensibly to provide greater affordability. Allowed building heights were raised, lot coverages increased, limits on the number of units on a parcel were removed, and requirements for providing parking on site were removed for many areas. As highly paid millennial tech workers, willing to pay higher rents for smaller units, poured into the area, families and less affluent renters were displaced. Single-family homeowners were and are besieged with offers and threats from developers seeking to buy and demolish their houses to build towers of high-priced studios and micro-units. Despite the non-stop construction of rental units, between 2010 and 2015, Seattle saw the fastest rise in rents of any place in the U.S. So much for added supply, lowering prices. With so many added units, Ballard has reached 427% of the 20-year growth target it was set in 1994. In fact, Ballard has already exceeded its updated growth target through 2024.
Seattle no longer has a legitimate community engagement process. What they have now I call engagement theater. It's where residents are invited to participate in these superficial exercises, often involving Legos or Post-it notes. And this creates the appearance of community engagement and buy-in without really inviting substantial residential input on important issues.
The change has been dramatic. 50% of Seattle was zoned single-family, and 62% of Seattle's tree canopy was located in single-family zones. From 2001 to 2007, single-family lots undergoing redevelopment lost 41% of their tree canopy, while multi-unit lots lost 69%. Along with trees and green space, naturally affordable homes have been lost to higher-use redevelopment in the name of affordable housing. Rents on newer units are more than 50% higher than comparable older units. Many renters and small businesses have been displaced, and Seattle's homelessness problem has increased dramatically as housing prices have soared. The added housing has come with an insufficient increase in infrastructure. Politicians, tech leaders, and developers value the exchange value of land, its speculative value, not the value of the use to which it is currently put. Community coherence, security, historic preservation, green space, none of these matter.
As early as the 1970s, economists began documenting the process and effects of urban redevelopment and densification. Sociologist Harvey Molotch coined the term urban growth machine to describe the collective actions of the various parties that benefit from intense urban infill. The bankers, investors, developers, construction trades, and even city government looking to grow its tax base. Collectively, the growth machine has an insatiable appetite for growth at any cost. But this growth is unsustainable and benefits few while hurting many.
There's really no relief in sight for Ballard, where pro-growth media and city leadership are doing everything that they can to demonize single-family neighborhoods.
One even proposed a highest use tax that would charge residents not on the home they actually have, but on the highest possible use of their property. For those who continue to live in single-family houses in areas rezoned multifamily, to encourage turnover. Between lax zoning enforcement, inexpensive demolition permits, and special permits given out like nothing special, Newton's zoning ordinance is under siege, and so is our community. Tear-downs are rampant, and so are replacement builds, McMansions, townhouses, multi-units, and apartment and condo complexes. All of them mean tremendous tree loss and displacement of people who cannot keep up with the higher housing prices brought by higher use redevelopment. Can we save Newton from Ballard's fate? What can we learn about the dangers of upzoning from the Seattle neighborhood that's home to the real-life Up House?